The Nachusa grasslands is 2 hours west of Chicago, an hour south of Rockford. It's a 3,000-acre site set in the Middle Rock River area. And now the clock's ticking. Nachusa grasslands is known for having a committed and vigorous volunteer cadre, and that's what I was asked to speak about. We also are known for high diversity prairie restorations. And some people don't know that we have a lot of remnant prairies there, remnant woodlands, remnant wetlands. And we do have, even though I'm talking about volunteer stewardship, we have 2 full-time staff, and we have 6 seasonals that work very hard all through the year. So we definitely need our staff, but volunteers add an awful lot to our project. And working on natural areas are so precious, and they need so much effort. All that weed management we have to do, the prescribed fire, the seed harvesting, the planting of the seed, monitoring, rare species. Managers are asked to do all this kind of stewardship, and then we also have to do grant writing and give tours and deal with bureaucracy and all sorts of things like this. So you might be thinking, how can I also deal with volunteers on top of that? How are they going to help my program, or are they just going to be underfoot, and it would be just easier to hire someone to do it? And what we found is that working with volunteers, that they have added a lot to our project. Volunteers, they collect seeds, they manage weeds, they're the bulk of our prescribed fire crew, but they also do things such as run our annual festival. They run our tours program, our education program, our website, our butterfly monitoring, our bird monitoring, some of our rare species work. They pick up roadside trash. They help take care of the headquarters. They do all sorts of good things for us. What we find is to be successful, you have to empower volunteers and have them do good work. You have to put faith in them. You have to treat them as colleagues. So I want to explain the difference between a volunteer and a steward. A volunteer to me is someone that comes, once a quarter, once a year. They do this, they do that. Their skill level is usually low. Their commitment is pretty low. A volunteer steward is a person that's doing a lot of work. They're the leader. They're doing the day-to-day effort, and they put in years into those efforts. We've used this method of having management units, and different volunteers adopt some of those units, and they care for them, and they become like their property, and they get to know it really well, and it's a benefit added to that piece of the preserve. And then I was going to tell you a few stories. Here's Al Meyer. He comes all the way from Bloomington, the lower dot there, Al and Mary, and Nachusa's the green dot, 2 hours away. Frequently, I'll be having my coffee at the preserve at 6:30, sitting on the porch, and there goes Al, who's driven already 2 hours, made a pot of coffee, and out he goes to his unit with his equipment, and he does good work, producing all sorts of great prairie restorations. Chris Hauser, a volunteer with us for years, taught us about forked aster and this important rare species, and that he found 35-year-old records, went and found plants that were nearby, took cuttings, grew them in pots, added them to the clonal patch that we had, trying to propagate this rare species. And then Jay Stacy, man, these things go fast. Jay Stacy is volunteer steward, been with us 19 years. He's there with my 5-year-old daughter. He's like her uncle. He produces these wonderful prairie restorations. The richness, that is a prairie restoration there, not a prairie remnant, and it would fool a botanist looking at it. And Jay was featured in our national magazine for his good works, and you should come see those prairie restorations. Catching up. All right, the Hartmans. So Hank and Becky Hartman come out about 3 days a week, and they do all sorts of weed management, going after bird switch trefoil. They harvested 3,000 pounds of seed so far over the last 10 years, and they produce some great habitat restorations, including savannas. All right, and there's 84-year-old Mary Scott with Tom and Jenny Mitchell. Mary Scott volunteered with us for 7 years. She passed away last year. Great lady, did all sorts of great work with Tom and Jenny. They produced these wonderful prairie restorations, 150 species, 40, 50 pounds an acre. People come from all over to see that work. And then Mary and Jim Vierig come from the suburbs. Jim's a retired CEO, Mary a retired science teacher. Again, they produce 3 prairie restorations, very high diversity, and they get involved with other things in the project. So we're trying in our prairie restorations to fool botanists, and if you would look at that planting there, you might think it was a remnant. It has the right plants in it. It's dotted with bird's foot violet, and it's got the golden Alexanders and the cream indigo and other wonderful plants. We want to fool the botanists. We want to fool the butterflies and the other creatures that want to use these habitats. So volunteers help us get to that, and volunteers give an energy and a sense of community to the project. So besides the good work they do, they end up becoming important drivers in the communities that you're trying to have a successful project in. They end up donating money to the project themselves. Several of them have us in their estate plans. They started their own 501c3, Friends of Nachusa Grasslands. They can add a lot to the project. So, you know, to us, doors are open when a project is more than paid staff. So I was going to give a few tips, maybe 7 if I can whip them out here quick enough. 1 is empower, don't micromanage. Let stewards run the work days, let them be the leaders. 2 is let stewards plan and implement whole projects, whether it's a piece of landscape they're working on or the herbarium or the festival. They're not minions, they're colleagues, they can do those things. 3 is allow stewards to work any day of the week. Give them the keys to the equipment shed. Let them use the equipment they need, train them to do it. My step 4 was teach safety, just like you would to a colleague. 5 is give genuine appreciation. I showed one in there of Mike Adolph, been with us 23 years, and we gave him a nice frame photo, and he's done great work for us, doing all sorts of things, and Mike's conclusion is he got a lot more out of the deal than we did. And lastly, as I'm running out of time, we have a lot of conservation work to get done. We can't do it alone. Empower volunteers. Let them help you out. Create a conservation community. Thank you for your time.